All right, boys and girls, welcome back to the drive-thru. Shout out to Maddie, working hard, taking care of that foot. All right, so this is numbers 9, 10, and 11 from 1 to 4. Okay, we're going to go through this whole thing. I know that many of you just have questions about the explicit functions, but I'll tell you, each one of these, I think you are best off turning it into a table. The first term is 3. The second term is 8. The third term is 13, 18. Hopefully you identify this as an arithmetic sequence or a linear progression, okay? So it's easy to fill in the next 3 terms. I think we're adding 5 every time, 28, 33, 38. Sorry, this pen just doesn't work very well on this. And the recursive function, well, to get f of n, take f of n minus 1 and add 5 to it. Okay, so that is the recursive function. The real issue here is the explicit function. That's the hardest thing to come up with. So I think you guys are familiar with y equals mx plus b. Okay, m, if you remember, is the slope. B is the y-intercept is what that says. Sorry, this pen doesn't write well, and if you have complaints, just take them to the ViewSonic people. All right, well, what I want you to understand is that y equals mx plus b, that's the same thing as f of x equals mx plus b. This is explicit function notation. So, in our problem, we're going up by 5 every time. So what does that make our slope? Our slope is 5. Now here's the tricky part. How do we find our y-intercept? Well, if we have a graph, we look at the graph and see where it hits the y-axis, but we don't have a graph. But where will it hit the y-axis? Remember, the y-intercept, you always put in a 0 for x. That's confusing. A 0 for x. So now follow the pattern. 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. 18, 13, 8, 3. Oh, we got to subtract 5 from 3. What do you get? Excellent. Negative 2. Okay? So what is negative 2? That is our b. So then what will our explicit function be? F of x, or n, it doesn't matter, equals 5x minus 2. Now check it. Check any one of them. Put in a 4. What's 5 times 4? And what's 20 minus 2? Okay, well, let's make sure another one works. What's 5 times 2? And what's 10 minus 2? 8. We're doing it right for sure. Okay? Now, let's see. Are all of these... Let's see. This one looks like it's going to be... So the common difference here was 5. This common difference is negative 2. So I'm going to skip this, and I'm going to skip the recursive. Come see me if you have questions about that, but let's take another shot at the explicit function. Okay, let's make it into a table. Okay, our first term was 11, and then 9, and then 7, and then 5. So what is our slope? Excellent. It's going down by negative 2 each step. How do we find our y-intercept? We put a 0 in for x. We follow the pattern. So what will our y-intercept be? It will be 13. And then we can use those numbers to write the explicit function as f of x equals negative 2x plus 13. You're probably using n's, and that's totally fine. Now, let's see if we could do this real quick. One more. This is harder. We got decimals. The first term was 3. The second term was 1.5. The third term was 0. What's our slope? So f of x equals, is it 1.5 or negative 1.5? Negative, ViewSonic, negative 1.5x. All right, we've got to find our y-intercept by putting a 0 in here. Can you follow the pattern? You are cooking with gas. Love it. And I hope this makes you feel better about the 1.5 assignment. 1.4 assignment. Boom!